Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and today we're going to talk about a Jewish holiday which I don't think anybody realizes that it's a holiday, and that is Rosh Chodesh, which is the new month, the day of the new month. People know Rosh Hashanah, the new year, it's very special, the high holidays, and we talked about it before, but this is, people don't even know what Rosh Chodesh is. So Rosh Chodesh, again, first we have to talk about the Jewish calendar, what that is, start from the beginning, and it's based on a lunar month. Again, the 365 days of our January 1st year is a solar calendar, and we're talking about a lunar calendar. How many days does it take for the moon to go through from the full new moon to full moon in the middle of the month to again go back down and waning to get down to almost, we say no moon, but a sliver of a moon. So that's the lunar calendar. There's 354 days of a lunar calendar. So 365 minus 354, you're missing 11 days. You're going to constantly move back throughout the entire year. You're going to lose 11 days a year. So the problem is in Jewish law, because they say Passover has to be in the spring. There's a sentence for that. Well, if you lose 11 days, Passover is not going to be in April, the spring, it's going to be March, it's going to be in February, and January. In a few years, you're going to be in the middle of the winter, Passover, and on, December, November. It's going to keep on going backwards. So in order to compensate for those 11, not exactly, but I don't want to go through all the math now, but you can understand there's 30 days in a month, so it's not exact, but almost every 3 years, not exactly every 3 years, but it's almost every 3 years, there becomes a leap month. 11 days times 3 is 33, is not exact, but that's pretty much the idea, and there becomes an extra month in order to have the lunar calendars, shtim, regulate to with the solar calendar, so Passover should always be in the spring. Now, the new month, and a lot of times you'll even on secular calendars, they'll show you the phases of the moon, and they'll say new moon. Even on secular calendars, surely on Jewish calendars they say that, but even on secular calendars. And what does it mean, the lunar month? Is just that many people get it wrong when they say the beginning of lunar month, say, oh, there's going to be a full moon, new month. But it's really not true. The beginning of a lunar month, like I said before, is like a sliver of the moon, a newer month. It's just starting for the sun to reflect off the moon. Like I said, you see a sliver of the moon. And by the 15th, meaning the middle of the month, that's when it waxes so much that you get a full moon. So when you have full moon is in the middle of a lunar month. And just to note, that's what Passover, which is in the 15th day, it changes always in the solar calendar. Like I said, it's always in the spring, March, April. A few weeks here, a few weeks there. But it's always on the 15th day of the Hebrew month of Nisan. So if anybody goes to a Seder, you go to a Seder, you go outside of Seder, you should see a full moon there because it is the 15th day of the lunar month. So that's very special. Now, what we're trying to get deeper, why is it so special of a day, is because it's very, very interesting. The Jewish people are compared to the moon. You think, well, why not the sun? The sun's more brilliant than the moon. But the Jewish people, just like the moon, like we just said, which is obvious, it waxes and wanes. No moon, then it becomes a full moon, and then it goes down to a no moon. That's a monthly cycle, a lunar cycle. And that's kind of, if you notice it through the thousands of years of the Jewish people, it's pretty much typical of the Jewish people. You go through an entire 3,000 years of Jewish history now, but there was the first temple, just a few ideas really, like I say, go through 3,000 years in a few minutes, that there was the temple, it was built in Jerusalem, it was the heyday of Jewish people, it was destroyed, then the second temple was built, and now it's destroyed, and that's what you see now when you go to Israel. for the last 2,000 years, is all you see is one wall, the Western Wall in Jerusalem. It was destroyed 2,000 years ago. Again, just very high that Jewish people, even though people know the tragedies of Jewish people and Jewish history, and people may know the Spanish Inquisition, 1492, but really there should be more of an emphasis in the heydays. There was actually in Jewish history books, it's called the Golden Era of Spanish Jewry, because hundreds of years beforehand they were really doing very, very well in Spain, but then there was a Spanish Inquisition. And just skipping even to modern day, that we know the Germans, what they made the Holocaust. Everybody knows from that, and there's movies about it, etc. It's really not in our lives, our parents' lifetime. But the truth of the matter is that they're missing out that hundreds of years beforehand, the Jewish people were very much at an elevated status in Germany. They were government ministers, they were big into science. And so again, these are whole subjects in its own right, talking about every country and every level of history, and we're going through it only a few minutes. But in any case, the bottom line we want to say is they were on top of the world, and obviously in the Holocaust, the Jewish people were on the bottom of the world. But then you have the state of Israel going up. So you have this wave theory in Jewish history, waxing, going up, waning, going down. And the Jewish people, therefore, are considered like the moon compared to the moon, that they wax and they wane, they go up and they go down. And that's what the Jewish people are compared to the moon. Where the world is more like the sun, there's always something shining, it's always strong. Even in the winter, you say, well, wintertime it's cold, maybe there's a half a sun. No, there's no half a sun shining. You go on a winter day and the sun is brilliant, actually. It's very hard to see. It's reflecting off the snow. And so it's a full sun there in the middle of the winter. Just the earth is at a different angle, whatever, but the sun is there. The moon, you go out, when there's no moon, you don't see a moon. It's not there, it's not there. I mean, it is there, but we just don't see it. And the sun isn't reflecting towards our direction of the moon. But in any case, that we are compared to the moon, not like the sun, because the moon waxes and wanes. Now here's a very interesting idea, because we always like to bring in, and again, as I always try, I know these people they debate me, they argue with me, fine, everybody's allowed to question and discuss things, but that's why I can't have viewer participation, not yet. Maybe with newer technology in the future we would be able to. But in any case, I know all these questions, so I'm bringing up the questions people have asked me, and therefore maybe it's your question also. And again, it's a whole subject and so on. We have discussed it on the Jewish View, the woman's role in Judaism. Many women feel it's denigrating as a Jewish second-class citizen. And again, we always say the mantra is absolutely not true. And here's just one example, even though, like I say, it's a major subject in its own right. We can go through many, many examples, but we're just tuning into the Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. And that is to take you back into the Bible, where one of the stories is the Jewish people just received, I'm framing it just in excerpting this story, because that's what we're dealing with now. They received the Torah at Mount Sinai, and it's not just, okay, here's a book, someone published a book, here's a Bible, start reading it. But as the story is in the book of Exodus, God appeared to all the Jewish people, the entire Jewish people. And again, I'm making it in a short idea, but just think about it for just a few seconds, that God himself talked to people, and it's really a one-time occurrence. I mean, God speaks to prophets, but the entire Jewish people, the entire people with a few million people at the time, was a major, major spiritual revolution. And again, think about it for a second, and you can only imagine God speaking personally to you. Fine. Then it goes on, Moses says, it's too much. The Jewish people start complaining, we can't take this godly revelation. It's too much for us. And Moses, you go up and speak to God because you're a holy man, you can take it, and then tell us about it. Well, he goes up for 40 days at Mount Sinai, and Moses is gone, and there's always the evil inclination. Always you have a bad thought in your heart and your mind. Maybe there is God, maybe there isn't, and, bad things happen to good people, and where's God? All right, all kinds of ideas float into people's head. Maybe I can do something wrong, no one will catch me. All kinds of ideas, and people know themselves better than anybody. And, you have things, maybe I'll do something a little this, and that won't make a difference. They don't see God. He hid himself. He's talking to Moses. And in the meantime, the Jewish people got involved with the evil inclination and say, well, Moses is gone. Again, framing the situation. You're in the middle of a desert. It's just like you take a child, just even trying to make it a little bit relevant, in the middle of the forest or somewhere, and the parent says, I'll be back in a minute, and now they're not back in an hour, and the kid's going to panic. I don't know what the heck, I got to get out of this forest. I don't know where the heck I am. Can only, use that as an example. Obviously, you would be panicking. So you have to use this idea also in the middle of the desert. How do we get out of a desert? We were led by Moses, and I don't know, where are we going to go? We have kids here. What are we going to do? So you can understand they're panicking, even though they should have more trust and faith in God. But again, this is what happens. The evil inclination puts these thoughts in your head. So then they said, well, what are we going to do? We need a new God. I mean, Moses is gone. God's not speaking to us. And then they had a lot of gold, I guess backing up a little bit into the Egypt story. Egypt was the world empire at that time. I mean, you can go back to your ancient history and know that Egypt was an incredible country, and the Jewish people ransacked it. They says, hey, we worked for 200 years, slaves, we got to get paid. They took the gold and silver out of Egypt. So now not only are they sitting there, they have packs of gold and silver, and sometimes money gets you in trouble, unfortunately. You see that with a lot of people. You see the newspapers, these people on top of the world, and these people have millions of dollars, and instead of doing good things with their money, they get themselves in trouble a little too much. So just because you have money doesn't mean you have a good, decent life. So this is exactly what happened with the Jewish people. Too much money, a lot of gold. Well, we got gold, let's throw it into a furnace. So in any case, they threw in a furnace, and things happen that even God says, well, if that's the way you want to lead your life, lead it. It's a very beautiful idea if you say in the proper way. If you want to do something right, God will help you. You want to do something wrong, if that's the way you choose, I'll go along with you to do wrong things. So they want to obviously do the wrong thing, and all of a sudden a golden calf comes out of the furnace. Wow, this is miraculous. This is incredible. It's like a magic. Wow, how did you do that? So they're worshiping the golden calf. They're dancing around. And Moses then, right at the 40th day, comes down with the tablets saying, oh, what the heck? I hear a party going on. Everybody's screaming, like at a party. They're dancing, their music. What the heck's happening here? And they see that it wasn't a good party. It was a party for worshiping the golden calf. And that's where Moses breaks the tablets, and he gets mad. Make a long story short, it really is a longer story. Gets mad, and people get killed, executed for worshiping. The worst sin you can do is worshiping an idol. But getting to the point now, which I want to get to, is that the Jewish people, a lot of Jewish people, not everybody, but a lot of them were ensnared in this golden calf worship. But there's one people that didn't. That's the women. The women said, this is baloney, what are you worshiping a golden calf? So in many times it actually does say the women are on a higher spiritual level than men. I know that's revolutionary to a lot of people because they always think that, well, the men sing, they're the cantors, they're the rabbis, the women are nothing, they sit in a balcony. So again, that's what people may think. It is not Judaism at all. Judaism held the women the highest level, the highest due respects, and here's one example right here, even though there's many examples, but here it is, that the women were on a higher spiritual level. Hey, we're not worshiping some golden calf. God just talked to us 40 days before. Why don't you believe in God? In any case, after this story, God says, He always rewards people who deserve their reward. He says, I'm going to give the women a reward. They're not going to work or do any of the housework on Rosh Chodesh on the new month. That's going to be their reward, because the women, their cycles, they have their cycles, their periods, and their monthly cycles, so therefore they're in tune more with these cycles, and therefore on the first day of the lunar month, Rosh Chodesh in Hebrew, that they don't have to do work and they can take it easy. I'm giving a holiday, and really it's only for women. It's very interesting. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, it's a holiday. People don't know about it. Maybe they should know about it, and that's why we're telling you about it right now to tune in. It's a very beautiful idea. Again, the idea even for men is to be renewed. That's a very important idea. People go on and gone, another day, another year, a month goes by, a year goes by, a lifetime goes by. But in Judaism, you have to be renewed. A person is being renewed. God renews the world every time, and you see that. You don't even have to be spiritual about it, because that's why I say it's a physical phenomena that the moon, it has its cycles. You see no moon, big moon, full moon, no moon again. It has a cycle, and that's why you have to be tuned in to these cycles, into the creation. Tuning into the creation, they have to be renewed. Women are more their cycles of their bodies, and that's why there's Rosh Chodesh for them. But in any case, that's something special for women. But this is something important for every person, like I say, because you have to feel to be renewed and to do something extra every single month. And that's important for every person. It's a lesson for every person. Now, there's another thing about the moon. It's very interesting. And just as a side note, I like reading science myself, and the latest things is like, how did the moon get created? Again, if you think of the Big Bang Theory, they're wondering, how's this moon connected to the earth, and it's floating around the earth. And it's just they're trying to figure out from the beginning of creation, how did, even if you hold by the Big Bang, it's obviously there, so you can't argue that, obviously. So how did it get there? This piece of rock, and it's floating around. So it's the latest idea. It's a very interesting idea. Again, Judaism has idea. God made it that way. Maybe there are scientific ideas how the moon got into structure, but we deal with the cards that are dealt to us. There's an earth, there's a sun, there's a moon, there's planets. They are here, and they were all made with God's wisdom, and therefore we're trying to delve into God's wisdom. Why did He do? Why is there one moon, not two moon? Why is there any moon? You can always ask these questions, but bottom line, it is what it is, and therefore there must be some deeper idea behind all these acts of creation, and that's something to even think about also. Why is there a moon? That's what I'm saying. It's very interesting. I just, again, I emphasize to you, I always say, well, sunrise, sunset, big deal. Of course, the sunrise of the U.S. Naval Observatory will tell you exactly to the second when it'll be sunrise. They'll tell you when sunset. So big deal. It's a scientific thing. But just tuning into creation, this is very, very important. But again, I always say all these questions. People say, well, Judaism, we're reading a book all the time, and we're not tuned into the world, into nature. We always like talking about, because there's many, many mitzvahs and commandments that deal with nature. You're not allowed, these are 613, these are major ideas. Not allowed to cut down a fruit tree. You're not allowed to give pain to an animal. So there is tuning into creation, many, many Jewish ideas. And here's even one of them, which I say the moon. Oh yeah, a moon, here, there. Who cares about the moon unless you go out at night? It's a full moon. It's a little light out. Most people, who cares about the moon? Doesn't make a difference to them. Very interesting, though, that, the moon does affect, besides, obviously, it gives a little more light when there's a full moon. But, I go up to Maine with my wife, and, the tides are incredible there. And I said, well, what tides are here? there's no water on the beach, and then all of a sudden there's a few feet on the beach. In many areas in London, in England, what's happening? What's with this? Tides here, tides there, in, out. But again, they just say the way of the moon. So it's how much is it affecting us? You say, well, all right, again, light is light. You can obviously see that, hey, it's a full moon, it's a little light outside at night. Or how much is it affecting our lives on a physical level? Because it's surely affecting the oceans on a physical level. How much is it affecting us? It's very, very interesting to think about it, because there are spiritual influences, and that's what we like talking about here so much, because you can't just discount spiritual, who needs it. But there are so many things in the physical world, the planetary systems, and surely the sun is not an issue, night, day, but even the moon, like I say, has effect on us. What about these other planets? So, so Judaism says a few things about these things, but more science is hopefully getting more and more clear about how they're affecting us. I think they're just at the baby steps at the beginning of just how these the planets and the universes affect us on Earth. They're just beginning to think about these things and learning about the different planets and what they are and what they're doing, what they're made out of. But in any case, for us, it's also important. Just want to put that, just underscore this point, where Judaism does tune into nature. And again, many people, ask me, what about the outside, the environment? Let's go hiking. Don't you care about nature? And surely Judaism does care about nature. Like I said, there's commandments. Can't destroy nature for sure. It's God's world. You have no reason to destroy it. Yes, you can use it for for a purpose. I mean, if you need to eat, then you have to eat a piece of meat. You have to, but all right, people eat a piece of meat. You need a leather for your shoes. All right, you need a cow's hide. And plants, obviously, you need to eat certain plants or medicinal herbs. On and on and on. Obviously, you can drink water. We shouldn't pollute the water. You drink water. You need to farm your land. You need water, and on and on. But these are all things with a purpose, to destroy things, to pollute, you knock things down like trees. This is it's not Judaism. Judaism never said this. It's against Judaism. It's God's world. You have no business destroying the world. But back to the Rosh Chodesh idea, we're tuned into the moon. The moon is very, very important. Again, the Jewish people are compared to the moon. But you understand, you see what we're saying is that if you look around the world, and anything in the world, now we're dealing with the moon, but that there is a purpose for everything in the world. And sometimes you don't see it. Most of the time, I don't think we see it. Why this tree has to be there, why there's grass, and there's got to be this kind of animal and that kind of animal. But certain reasons for everything. And sometimes it's just maybe on the most simple level, maybe there are deeper reasons. It's just saying incredible how God created the world as part of our prayers. They're saying, just look who creates such a beautiful world. When you see a beautiful world, say, well, it's a nice sunrise, sunset. It's a nice mountain scene. You go to the Adirondacks. It's so beautiful, but who created it? So if you see a beautiful painting or again, a musical, you hear a concert, wow, who composed that concert? Wow, that Beethoven was great. Van Gogh was great. Now, you never met him, you don't know anything about him, but if you see his works, wow, I don't know much, but the guy was a genius. He can make a concert like that. He could draw a picture about it, even if you had no bio on him, you just know the guy's name. So even if you don't know his name, hey, whoever made this was incredible. So that's the way we're supposed to look at the world also, in the universe. So, wow, who made this world? Wow, look at this incredible world, that there's even an order to it. Again, also like biology, chemistry, you have to be a biologist even in high school. See, there's an order of things. There's a periodic chart and everything made together. I know there's problems in the world. I'm not being Pollyannish about it. But for the most part, the world's working. We're not freezing to death, and we're not, global warming. It's not too hot. You put on a coat, and it's not too cold. for the cold. The world works for the most part, and a lot of things, there's problems in the world, it's man-made. God didn't say make wars, and there's enough food if you distribute in the right way for everybody. So who's to blame? Are you going to blame God for that? It's human being. He says, well, I'm giving it over to you. You do what you can with the world. Like I say, you can look at the world, you can destroy it, your ability. You can take bombs, or you can take your axes and chop down all the trees and kill all the animals. Yeah, you have the ability to do that. On the other hand, you can raise the world to a higher level. That's where the beautiful choices that God gave us in our hands. But you can't blame God for people's choices. So that's important. Just that's what I'm saying. That's why a simple thing which people don't even notice, and even Jewish people don't even know. Such it's a big holiday. Not the biggest. You can work on Rosh Chodesh, except for women. It's not the biggest holiday in the world. That's why people don't notice it. But that's what I wanted to bring out. It's a beautiful idea of tuning in, like to the moon. Who cares about the moon? You know, no, it make a difference having a big rock in the sky, and maybe it's a little bit light out with the moon. But just tuning in to every aspect of the creation is something that is part of Judaism, because God created the world, and He just didn't create something, nothing, just to put some extra planet in there because He had nothing to do to fill up His time. Maybe human being maybe do that. Sometimes I make fun of authors. Sometimes say that you hear publishers, the book is 150 pages, you need to write 200 pages, so you fill in, put in some extra pages or something. You do that in your report to your teacher. It's got to be 10 pages long. I only have 5 pages. All right, I'll babble, not really saying anything. But you don't say that with God. When God created the world, if it's not a molecule, atom, every electron, whatever you want to say about it, the smallest part, it's all with divine wisdom. And surely something big that's right in front of our faces, like a moon that we see go out at night, you see what the moon is. Surely that has to be lessons for us in order to appreciate and gain some kind of deeper understanding of our lives also. Well, we said before that the Jewish people can't put to the moon, you wax and you wane, but it's very interesting. You talk about the moon on a concluding thought. Like we said, it's not like, let's say it's the 7th day of a lunar month, there's a half a moon. The 15th day is the full moon, so the 7th day is a half moon. It's only a half a moon. You don't think there's a half a moon. The moon is 100% there. It's just how much you observe it or not. That's what the difference is. You say, I only see a half moon. Not that there is a half moon, because the moon didn't diminish one iota. It's a full moon in its own right. It's how much we perceive it. And that's also a very, very important lesson for us. Is just everything is out there. God's out there. The world's out there. The wisdom's all out there. And it's just saying, I don't see it. I don't understand it. People say, it doesn't exist. I don't see God, therefore He doesn't exist. You don't see Him, that doesn't mean He doesn't exist. Just like the moon. He's a half a moon. So in any case, He not only sees that you see only half a moon, but the other half is totally there also. So thank you for viewing. This is an important idea, even though on one hand, I know it's a minor idea on one hand, and known as a big Jewish holiday, the new lunar month. On the other hand, that it is a very special idea when you think about, especially again, as we said before, for women. Women have a special place in Judaism, and really this is a special holiday, not just, Passover, everybody participates. You have the whole family, the grandfathers, the grandmother, the mother, the father, everybody. Women are included too. It's not, Rosh Chodesh is not women are included too. It's their day, really only for them and not for men. And you really don't have that this a man's holiday and not including the women, because the women wanted to participate also. So just that's an important idea for every person, and especially for the women that think they're second-class citizens when it comes to Judaism. Totally untrue. That if anything, the truth of the matter is, and we can delve in it further in future shows, that the women have a more superior role in Judaism more than men. Well, suffice it to say we're out of time, so thank you for tuning in and talking about and looking about the moon, and thank you for tuning in.